Good evening, sports fans. Welcome to the Monday night edition at Sioux Sports Talk on SiouxSports.com. Tonight, our guest is going to be Ariella Merlino, but we're going to start off a little different tonight, and we have her parents with us, Vince and Jess. We're going to ask them a couple questions about some tough decisions they had to make along the way and how things are going with them. Bono's with us today also. Again, he's in the studio. The three of them are in the studio, and Ari will also be in the studio, so we'll start there. First of all, thanks guys for joining us, and how's things going?
Good. Everything is great. Thanks for having us.
That's awesome. I'm glad you guys joined us. We know, I mean, it's tough, and we talk a lot on here about, the younger kids going away, making decisions to send your kids away for the betterment of their future. You guys went through some stuff with her committing, then not committing, stuff like that, going through that still, and then now you've had the stuff with the Team Canada stuff and all that. So we have a lot to talk about. First of all, the first decision I'll ask you guys about was Ari played with the boys a lot longer than a lot of girls do, and when we talked to Ari the first time, I said that I see that decision, especially for a goalie. That I think it's a really good decision for a goalie. Uh, did you guys consider sending her to the girls program earlier, or was it always the way it was going to be, the way you did it?
Yeah, it was a very organic decision for us. Like we never really sat back saying, it's time or you can't play with boys. It's just the way it happened. She made the team. She made the team on her own when she was in Adam and Pee Wee with the boys. And honestly, the big reason to move the girls was the rules OWHA had in place. Um, they have a rule that you're not allowed to participate in any provincial team functions unless you play for OWHA the year prior to their events. And the big one was U16, the summer games for U16. So that was part of the big decision in Bantam to move on. Plus, there was a lot of politics happening in the boys' team. Um, so like everything kind of fell into place. Like that's just where we slid, and it's kind of been her story from actually novice to current. It just we never really chased anything. It just everything just kind of fell into place and happened naturally, and yeah.
We also put a lot of, um, it's not even, I don't even want to say trust, as part of this natural sort of progression. Ari knows what she wants and she knows where she wants to be. And a lot of the research that we did for things happened after Ari made a decision on where she wanted to be. Like at 9, she said, I'm trying out for the boys double A rep team. And we were like, we should look into that. Like we didn't know. And it was the same, heading towards Bantam. She made the decision she was ready to go to girls. And so we did it. She really guides a lot of our decisions for us.
And that sounds good. And really, that's the way it should be, right? I mean, it's her. It's her. She's the one playing. She's the one that should make the decisions. And she's lucky to have good parents to support her and stuff like that. So when the time came for her to leave town, obviously that's a really hard decision. I went through it a little bit with my daughter. She started the process of leaving town, and she ended up staying home and not ended up playing hockey later on in her life. So it was tough, and a lot of us went into that, and talk about that a little bit. The decision for her to actually leave town at a young age.
For us, we knew that's kind of where it was leading. We saw the writing on the wall. We got very, very lucky getting attached to an organization and a coach that was on just top notch. Like Ari was first, and her well being was number one.
Yeah, and that was the same thing too. When we were away for a tournament in her bantam year, I believe it was.
Yeah.
That's where we discovered what the PWHL was. We did not know. Vince is ever the researcher, so we started to look it up. And she was 14, and we thought, "There's open tryouts. Let's go to a tryout and see what that looks like." And the coach invited her to play for the team. at that point at 14, we both made the decision that's too young. We didn't want her to start high school away from us. But after that, again, it happened very organically in midget. So she would have been her second year bantam, but she played midget that year a little bit early. And we were away for a tournament. And like Vince said, we ended up hooking up with the coach for Mississauga, who was very passionate, very organized, did a lot, all the legwork for us. Came up to us, said, "This is what I want to offer Ari. This is what it would look like. This is where she would live. This is," and it was more for us just to say, do we do this? Are we ready for it? We knew she was ready to play at that level, and we just, like he said, we knew this was sort of inevitable, and then realized that this is a good thing. This is the next step. It's like a boy knowing he's ready to be drafted in the OHL. You don't think, ooh, do we do this? When a boy gets drafted to the OHL, they go to the OHL. So it happened that way for us too.
Yeah. And the fun part is Darcy, who's the coach, she was the only coach who wasn't blowing smoke up. Like, she was honest. She's like, she's a 15-year-old girl coming in playing against 20-year-olds. She needs to develop. She's not going to be my number one. She's not going to be my starter, but she's going to have the opportunity to earn it. And every other coach we talked to that year was like, she's coming in. We need a starter. We want her. And it felt right. It felt comfortable. And she's proven herself 3 years now.
So you bring her down to play, and the first time you leave her there, who has a harder time dealing with it, you guys or her?
Oh, it's definitely us.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
I cried a lot.
100%.
Did a lot of crying.
Yeah.
Vince too. We were very emotional on the car ride home. Vince held it together really well when we dropped her off. We could see her nerves. We brought her to a family she didn't know very well. They gave her the entire basement, and she was pretty excited about that. She felt like she kind of had her own little apartment, but we could see she was very nervous. She was starting in a school with 3,000 students. It was going to be huge. And we could see her nerves, but it was never, I don't know if I can do this, or I don't know if, it was never that. It was never that. So that helped us a lot. And then we had a rough car ride home, for sure. It was a long way from Mississauga back to the Sioux when you're crying.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you have to feel, though, that looking back now at that and where she is now, that experience and her, forcing her to grow up a little quicker, you guys must feel that was really good for her, right? Is that accurate to say that?
Yes, 100%. Like, we don't regret any decision, and she proves us. She proves our decisions right every time. And if she's not we're at the stage now where if she's not comfortable, she's able to express that. So it makes it very easy, especially only being 17 years old. Like, for most 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, they're leaving home for the first time at 18, 19 and have to learn the lesson she learned at 15.
Yeah.
The benefit is she got comfortable with this situation at 15 years old, so she was able to do what she did the last couple of weeks without having to worry about being homesick and not being around mom and dad, and we see that's where the benefits really, really show.
Yeah. Now the other thing too is she committed to a school really young, and then she goes through the experience where, and I'm not sure where it goes, and I'm not sure how much you guys want to talk about this, where she doesn't want to go to that school, and I don't know if that comes from you guys or her. How does that conversation come about? Because she's got to be really nervous to tell you guys if it's coming from her that she doesn't want to go there anymore. I remember I went to Ottawa U to play football, and I came home after a week, and having to tell my dad that was one, and I was 19. Having to tell my dad that was one of the scariest things in my life. So I don't know exactly how that took place, but that conversation must have been hard.
It was. The whole experience was great, but we went into that with very, very little knowledge. We had very few people that we could talk to that went through it, especially at such a young age. What we notice in like the GTA when we're in Mississauga, it's a norm. It's a conversation that's had openly and common, like anything else. In the Sioux, it's almost taboo to talk about it, especially in the girls scene. I don't know why, because a lot of girls dream about it. Um, but yeah, we made that decision young, kind of quick. We don't regret it. She's still very, very close with the coach that recruited her. Still talks to her on a regular basis, and she's still a mentor to us. She guides us along the way. And this time around, it's Ari. She's doing everything. She makes all the contacts. She does all the talking. Um, like we haven't even talked to most of the schools. It's Ari 100%. We're in the background. We listen and we try to guide her the best we can. But the kid knows what she wants and what she's looking for. That's for sure.
Yeah, and that's been a lot of fun too, because she was committed so young. When she'd play in the PW and go on tournaments, these universities are all there, and they know they can't talk to her because she's committed. As soon as they found out she decommitted, the phone calls would come in, and they're so excited because they're saying, "We've been watching you for 2 years or 3 years, and we've been wanting to talk to you." But again, she's got a level head. She can tell the difference between the ones kind of blowing smoke and the ones who really sincerely mean it. And I'll tell you, we sit in the background, listen to these. I want to go to every single school that she's talking to at the end of an interview. They're so nice, but she'll come out and she has a feeling, and she knows, like, she's been slowly eliminating schools, and we just say to her why, and she'll say this is why, and she's doing it all on her own. It's been an unbelievable experience to watch her go through.
Yeah, and you say such a good thing that no one in the Sioux really knows what they're doing. It's nice, and that's why we like to kind of talk to you guys, and you share your experiences a little bit. I remember when my daughter was young, we went to Rush. I know you guys have been to Rush,
Yep.
and she was getting ready to go on the ice and stuff like that. And I was walking around, and there were some seminars going on, and I went to the seminars, and I thought they were great, and I thought the coaches were all really honest, and I actually learned a lot. And then when we went back, I made my daughter go to them as well, and talking about how to be recruited, and you're right. Really, they tell you to do it all on your own. They want you, the player, to email them. They want the player to send them film, their schedules, stuff like that. And but people don't know that, and unless you take the time to learn, that's why we want you guys to talk about your experience. So as of now, she still is deciding. She hasn't committed any place yet.
Correct. She
Yeah.
has some big decisions to make, and now that things are opening up, she's hoping the last big stage is seeing the school. And we feel as parents, but we're getting the feedback from coaches, is a big part of it is they want you to see the school, because they don't want you showing up there saying, "Oh, this is what the arena looks like," or "This is what the school feels like." That's a big part, being comfortable in your surroundings, and that's pretty much the last step that she has to go through. And now that things are opening up, we're hoping that moves on soon.
Yeah.
So,
And how many visits can she take?
as far as we know, there's not a number for her.
There's not a number?
Yeah.
And will you guys go on the visits too, or will she go on her own?
So we talked about this. The schools cover her visit, and we would have to go on our own. We decided we're going to let her do it on her own, and finish the process. Yeah.
Well, that's fine. It's funny because my son is going to play football at Bishops. We're leaving on Thursday, and we didn't get to. Then that's different, the CIS recruiting, but we didn't get to go because of COVID. And so when we go down on Thursday, that'll be our first time there. So that's it's kind of a weird situation. So I think the visit is really important, and I think it's pretty cool that you guys are letting her go on her own. And maybe if there's a second visit and she's down to making a decision, you guys might join. Is that accurate to say?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And she'll know. She's mature enough to say, I need you there. I need you to come and check this out. Something didn't feel right. Let me know if you feel the same way. But she's good. She knows very quickly if it's right or wrong. Like she knows what she wants.
Now you guys are now, like, do people come and ask you questions? Like, you guys are now a resource. You guys are going through it. You've been through some. You're going through more. You guys are like a resource now. Do people ask you questions? Do people come and say, hey, listen, this is going on with my daughter, or does that happen? Because it should, I think.
Yeah. In the Sioux, surprisingly not. Like
No way.
almost nothing. But when we're amongst the other like parents that are in her situation, it's a nonstop conversation, and we keep learning from each other. It's really weird, and I have a couple guys that I work with, and they pick my brain, and I try to be as open as possible, share our experience. But like people who are not acquaintances of ours, there's been no reaching out from organizations or past parents, past hockey parents and coaches. They check in all the time, how she's doing and all that. But yeah, as a resource, no, not so much in the Sioux.
Yeah, and we hope to maybe change that if we can. Not that we'd want to, but we want to make sure people know that we're more than happy to answer whatever questions we can answer, or especially Vince. I mean, he, like I said, he's done so much research into all of this. He understands the girls' system very well and what's available to these girls coming up through our system. I know there's not a lot of knowledge of what the PWHL is, but it's a very important step for girls who are looking to play at the next level of hockey, Canada or the US. And so we do want to, make people understand please ask. We're here. We want to help. We didn't have this kind of help. And
Yeah.
we
Well,
really
we had a couple fans.
we did have a couple.
Yeah,
The Hedricks were awesome.
They were our biggest resource.
Yeah.
Yeah, they know
Yeah.
what
They
they're
know,
doing.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. But we don't, and we got lucky. A lot of things sort of fell in our lap and things happen, but we'd love to be a resource to anyone who needs it, who moving forward just isn't sure what kind of steps are available there.
That's awesome, and you're right. I mean, the PWHL, the average, even the above average hockey fan in Sault Ste. Marie doesn't even know what the PWHL is, right? They don't know. I always kind of say, well, it's like an OHL for girls, and that's how I always try to explain it for people because I think that's a fair explanation. But you're right. People don't even know what it is. So, and the last question I'll ask you, and then I'll turn you guys over to Bono. How was the experience at the Team Canada camp? If you could explain that a little bit and what exactly that camp entailed. And did she just go on her own, or did you guys go too? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, it's top notch. Hockey Canada, women's hockey Canada, men's. It's all one, and they treat the girls like gold. And believe it or not, there's very little communication with the parents. It's all through the player, and they do a great job. Like it's a full. There's just as many staff members as there are players there. Like, I said to Jess, we ended up driving down. We had no intention of going down. We thought they were going to stream it. We found out they weren't streaming it, and we made it just in time for her first game. We drove down. Last second decision. The guys at my work bailed me out big time. They covered me, and anyway, I'm very thankful for that. But girls don't get to experience this unless they're at that level. Like this is their pinnacle, right? For the girls scene. So just, simple things like, she's at the airport and they grab her bag and set up her equipment. Like, the boys they're seeing that at the OHL level, and they're seeing it much sooner and much more often. Like there's so many more opportunities for them to see that. But for girls, unless they make that level, the resources and the staff are not available for like even her PWHL team to give them that experience. Like Mississauga Junior Hurricanes do a fantastic job of giving her the best experience possible, but the resources aren't there for Darcy to have a staff of 12 people. Like she can't have a physiotherapist and a full-time trainer and a team doctor on site and and on and on and on. Darcy has to do a lot of the work herself in Mississauga, but with Hockey Canada, she got to experience really what an NHL player would experience. Like they flew her out and, got all the clothes, all the equipment, and just to watch her in that element.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Like he said, our plan was to watch it online. They didn't really announce that parents could go until she had been there for over a week. And then we kind of get an email like, oh, if parents want to come, you can go in this back entrance and you can go up to a media booth and you can watch from up there. And we're like, what? We're so far away. How do we do this? So we thought, well, we'll watch it streaming. And then there was an issue with COVID and the people who were supposed to stream couldn't stream. And we found out there was going to be no streaming. So at 9:30 in the morning, Vince says, if we're on the road by 10:30, we can make it for her game. And we got in the truck and we drove 27 hours to Calgary. We made it for her 2 games, and it was the best decision we ever made, because to watch her play in that beautiful arena, the center ice has the IHF logo because the women's worlds is happening in a couple of weeks. That was there. The flags were all up. The banners were all up. It was, I mean, we couldn't go outside of the media box, but she got to see everything, the women's change room and the trophy room and the workout room. And for us just to be there and watch. And then, of course, we haven't seen her play in almost 2 years because of COVID. And so to see the best girls in the whole country play, it was the best thing we ever. I'm so glad we made that decision to go. It was awesome.
That's awesome. And she did well. What's the reports on how she did and all of that? How'd that go?
Yeah. Well, she's very happy. So she was happy with her effort. And I thought she did very well. She showed very well. We just got to see her on the ice, which is only a fraction of what they're looking at. And yeah, like, she's happy. We're happy. We got our fingers crossed, and we're, just to make it to this point, we're over the moon.
That's
we're
awesome.
very
Now, and
happy.
how are you guys as goalie parents? My son was a goalie first 10 years or so of playing hockey, and it was brutal because I mean, the parents are terrible, and everything's the goalie's fault, and I had to sit in the bar and drink while I watched the games. And I mean, how is it for you guys? Are you nervous? Or are you okay with it now?
We're pretty chill. I think for us, for me, I don't want to speak too much for Vince, but for me, my nerves come from her. So when I look out there in warm-ups and she looks confident and like she's comfortable, and I'm good. No matter what happens, the goal goes in, it goes in. If she saves it, she saves it. Her glove saves when she does little swoopies. Those are my favorite. Um, but if I see her go out there and she just doesn't quite look great, I'm nervous because I can feel what she's feeling. I don't care what the other parents think. None of that bothers me. Vince and I pretty much stay to ourselves for the most part.
Yeah.
But that's where my nerves come. If I look at her and think, ooh, she's fighting the puck. So I know her mind is going. I feel nervous because I feel bad for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm the same. She dictates how we feel. Her body language, and I'm a first save guy. As soon as she touches the puck the first time, it's just like, oh, okay, let's watch the game.
Yeah. So, yeah. It's a different position to watch. There's no doubt about it. It's different than anything else in hockey. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate the time. You guys gave us some great answers. If Bono has any questions for you, go ahead, Bono.
We've kept you guys a little bit longer than we originally planned, but I do have
sorry about that.
I just have a couple of things just to talk about quickly. So, I'm going to ask you this first, Vince. So, you have a teenage daughter growing up, obviously going through a lot of different, stages and things like that. Did you have any concerns as a father with your daughter, playing on a AAA boys team?
I had the benefit of being on the staff right from the very beginning. So Coach Dave asked me to be a part of it. Ari being on the team, I think, was a big part of him asking me. But being there firsthand, seeing, we got very lucky. Dave and Jeff picked a team with a lot of character, not just talent, and it showed. Like, the first people to congratulate her were those boys. Like, and that says a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So from a mother standpoint, obviously, you have your little girl, playing with these big boys, and that's got to be tough from a mother standpoint. So kind of how did you deal with that?
You know, Ari is a very there's not a timid bone in Ari's body. She's she knows herself, she knows her capability. She stands up for herself well. In fact, there were a vast majority of those boys were much more shy and quiet than she was. No, I've never worried about her in that sense. And again, like Vince said, we had amazing families for 4 years. They loved her. And the parents, especially the moms, they all were rooting for her as the only girl. They just loved her. And the boys were great. I never had a concern.
Oh, that's great. It's good to know, because I think that's a concern that a lot of parents might have. So I think it's important for people to hear that.
Yeah.
So obviously, playing hockey out of town at such a young age, playing at such a huge level, there's got to be a lot of financial strain. There's got to be a lot of time strain or time stress on you guys. How do you guys kind of deal with that? And is it as bad, or is it as wild and crazy as, people might think? Is it as, basically the question is it as expensive as it sounds like it might be to try and play for Team Canada, right? Outside of the personal travel and those types of things. Like, does Hockey Canada kind of cover most of that, or how does that all work?
Yeah, like Calgary was nothing out of our pocket for her. Yeah. And, they did a great job, and they were very upfront. Like, her flight and her meals and her accommodations were all covered.
Same with the OWHA tournaments.
And that's
U16.
right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then, the PWHA, it's ran just like a AAA or a AA girls midget team. So the costs are very similar. Wow. Like, it's the equipment we still got to pay for, and just, instead of that family trip to Italy, it's soccer and hockey, right? It's, and we all make those sacrifices, and it's.
Yeah, the extra expense we would incur basically would be her billet, right? So we pay, I think the OHL, they cover that, right?
Well, yeah.
Right. So for PWHL, we cover that. So our monthly billet, the actual cost to play hockey is not much different than a midget year. Yeah. But yeah, that's where the extra expense. And then of course, every time Vince and I hop in the truck and go.
Yeah. And the reason I asked that is because, if the, PWHL, which we've talked about, is the OHL for girls, and then you kind of look at it and, OHL players, they get paid to play, they get everything for free, and I know that we're not quite there yet with women's hockey, but it's nice to kind of see that hopefully we're kind of going down that path.
There are a few organizations in the league that are taking big steps towards that direction. Yeah. And we could see everybody is looking to almost catch up or follow suit. Yeah. And if they do, we're not far. Yeah, we're not far, because the talent is certainly there. Like, it is. Watch.
So my final question for both of you is, I'm going to ask, Jess, I'll ask you first. So I'll put you on the spot here with this one too. But if you could go back, so knowing what you know now, if you could go back, say 5 years, and give you a piece of advice knowing what you know now, what would you tell yourself?
I think the biggest thing I would tell myself, and this is the very first thing that comes to my head. She's right in her gut. She's right. She knows what she's doing. And we've done very well following it. I think, though, some of these decisions have made me extremely nervous, where I may not have expressed it to her, but up at night wondering, she's right. Yeah. She knows what she wants. She's putting herself in the right spot. She's right. Just stick with her.
Just trust it, yeah. And Vince, same question. So if you could go back five or 6 years, knowing what you know now, what kind of advice would you give yourself back then?
I think it'd be just don't miss the moments. Mm-hmm. Like, you almost missed Calgary. Yeah. And it goes by so fast.
Yeah.
Like, just be there, absorb it, enjoy the people around, and try your hardest to just be there for every moment. Yeah. Because the joy is watching them be happy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, whatever, shutouts, losses, it doesn't matter, but to see the smile on their face doing what they love.
For sure.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you guys doing this because I think it's important. You know, we spent a lot more time with you than we originally talked about, so thank you. But, you know, we interview so many athletes that I think a lot of times the parents aspect is kind of forgotten. So it's really important for you guys to kind of tell your story and get it out there to help other people. So, you know, I've known you both for a number of years, and you know, it's awesome to see what you guys are going through with her, and we obviously wish you guys nothing but the best, and we thank you so much for taking the time to do this because do think it's important. And you know, if she has a big announcement she wants to make, she's more than welcome to come on to the show, and we can we'll do a feature on her if you guys would like. So
Hopefully soon.
absolutely, that's
Hopefully
great. All right, we'll be right back with Ari in about 60 seconds.
Thanks, guys. Okay, welcome back, folks. Now we have Ari Merlino with us. She's fresh off her time at the Team Canada camp. Thanks for joining us again, Ari.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be back.
Sorry to keep you waiting. We talked to your parents a lot there, but you know, first of all, congratulations on your selection and to attend the camp. Tell us a little bit about the camp. What the age level is, all that stuff. How many goalies were there, if you can? If you just give a little rundown.
Yeah, for sure. So there were 46 U18 players. So it's mostly 04s. There were a couple 05s there. Every year they have a couple 05s, but it's mostly 04s, my age. So turning 17 this year. There were 6 goalies there, 3 from Ontario, which is pretty normal. You always have a little more from Ontario. But honestly, I had a blast. That it was like one of the best 2 weeks of my life. Like, I was expecting it, but I got much more than I was expecting out of it. It was awesome.
That's awesome. Now, you must know players there, right? Like, you must know a fair amount of players and goalies there from you know, going to camps and playing in your league and stuff like that. Did you know players there?
Yeah, I knew. So there was one other girl from my team in Mississauga who was there, but you pretty much know all the Ontario girls. We've all played against each other. We play with each other at like the Ontario camps and everything, but you pretty much know who everyone is. So it kind of starts there as a common ground.
And that makes things a little bit easier, right? Some familiarity that makes it a little bit easier.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think we all know we're there. We're there for the same goal. We all want the same thing. We're the same person. Everyone is the same there, like in their own way, kind of. I don't know if that made sense, but
no, yeah, you guys all have the same goal, and you're working towards the same goal, right? And
yeah.
So I know what you mean, and you know, it's you want everyone to do well, and it's that's awesome. Now, do you know the coaches or the coaching staff? Did you know them?
That was the only part. I didn't really know them. They're from all over. There were a couple coaches who I knew, like, oh, they coach here, they coach there, but I didn't know anyone personally.
Now, did you do like a bunch of physical testing? Did you do off ice stuff? Did you do just on ice stuff? How did that go?
So our first 2 days, we had fitness testing. So they run us through everything, like bench press, chin ups, sprints, speed tests, like a bunch of the jumps, like the broad jumps and everything. So that was the first 2 days. And then the rest was on ice. So we practiced pretty much almost twice a day. And then we had 3 games thrown in there.
Awesome. Now, do you enjoy the off ice testing and stuff like that? Do you do well at that? Is it something that you don't like? How is that for you?
Well, I think it's something that makes everyone a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
But it was a great environment to be in. Like the first test, you're always nervous. It's the first test for everyone. But the group of people I was with made me feel comfortable. Everyone was cheering everyone on. Like it was super loud. Everyone, you hit your bench press PR and everyone's cheering. Like it's such a great environment.
That's awesome. And then you go on ice, you do some practice. Is there a goalie coach there? There must be a special goalie coach there, right?
Yeah, so there was a goalie coach for both Team Red and Team White. So they split my age group up into two, and they had one goalie coach for both of us. He was awesome. It was like I absolutely loved our goalie coach.
That's awesome. And then you get in the games. You said there's 3 games now. Do you play every game, or how does that go?
No, so how it worked was there was two goalies dressed and one goalie wasn't, and we did a rotation. So one goalie played the first period and the second period, which were 20-minute periods, and the third goalie played the third period, and we did a 5-minute OT and a 5-man shootout every game, no matter the score. So we rotated on who was playing. So I got one game, I had the first 2 periods, and the next game I had the third period shootout and OT.
Oh, okay. And how did that go? How did the games go?
It was great. It was great
Yeah.
to be back on the ice. Like I haven't played a full 5-on-5 game with refs since March 2019, something like that. So it was great. It was such fast pace. Like the girls were amazing. The game quality was awesome. I had a great experience.
That's awesome. And your parents were saying they took good care of you guys. They took care of your stuff, and they fed you guys and all that stuff. That must have been fun, right?
Oh yeah, I got to the airport and I dropped my hockey bag off and it got taken away in a van. 2 days later, I had a whole stall. It was awesome. Like I've never experienced anything like that.
That's awesome. Now what happens? You wait and find out what the next step, or do they pick the team right away, or how does that go?
So they don't pick the team till November, and then if you make the team, you go to Sweden in January for the World Championships. And then a week before the World Championships, you're in Calgary training, almost like a centralization, not like officially, but something like
That
that. Yeah.
that's awesome. And so they will probably select 3 goalies. Is that right?
Yeah, 3 goalies.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so now you're getting ready to go. Is your season in Mississauga all set to go, and everything's going to be a go? Do you know that?
I'm not 100% sure on that. We don't have set dates. The only thing is our training camp starts the 23rd, which just to have that is awesome to have set dates to be with my team. This is a brand new team, so I'm excited to be with them. But we're hoping October we get our season up and going.
That's awesome. And so I'll hand it over to Bono to ask you some questions. The best of luck to you, and and you must be going. You're also in the middle of the recruiting again, so that's got to be a lot. You got a lot going on. So good luck to you, and I'll let Bono ask you a few questions now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, nice to talk to you again.
You too.
I got to ask you first, what level did you get to in the beep test?
What level?
Yeah. Do you
I
remember?
actually, so I have knee problems.
Yeah.
The track, my knee gave out on me.
Oh,
I ended up falling. I had a bloody nose, and there were doctors like lined up.
Yeah.
They took me out, but
Okay, they took care of you. Then.
Yeah.
That's good. So, we interviewed your parents for quite a while, and they were very complimentary of you. Just overall, what's your impression of kind of what your parents had to say for the first 30 minutes of this?
I expected it. They're awesome. Yeah. Like what they said was 100% true, but I would like to add, I also follow their lead. Yeah. Like they say, a lot of it is my decision, but I follow them too. Like I go from their example. Yeah. Like if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely, it does. Mm-hmm. So what I wanted to ask you about before we get into the Team Canada thing is, obviously there's the new NWHL, right? Like the Professional Women's Hockey League that has kind of started and is doing pretty well. Yeah. When it comes to boys, it's pretty standard, right? You play AAA hockey, you play OHL, then you go to the AHL, then you go to the NHL, right? Yeah. So if there's young girls watching this and they say, hey, I want to become a professional hockey player, Do you know what the levels are to get there? Obviously, you started off in the same aspect, and now you're playing in the PWHL, and then is there another step above that, or is it from there right up to the big leagues?
I would say like university hockey
Yeah.
is the next big step.
Okay, yeah.
So D1, even U Sports is growing so much.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the next step. And I think the goal for every little girl who plays hockey is Team Canada.
Yeah.
But it's growing that there's more than that. Like there's the PWHPA, which is another professional women's league, and you said the NWHL. Like those are goals for these young athletes that they can have.
That's amazing. That's good to know. I think it's important for people to hear that. So it's good that you're able to talk about that. So I want you to walk me through kind of what the week was like, right? Because obviously Jim and I are big sports fans, and we get to watch the Olympics on TV or watch the U18s on TV, but obviously there's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
Oh, yeah.
So walk us through what it was like. So what was an average day like during training camp or for the 2 weeks that you were there?
An average day. Okay, so we'll go a day where we had 2 practices.
Yeah.
We wake up, we're all at breakfast together. It's like a buffet style breakfast. And then we'd usually have a meeting. So we had meetings on pretty much everything from like who they want you to be as a person, like who you should be, like little habits to power play, like goal scoring, defensive habits, like everything. So we would usually have a meeting. Then goalies go to the rink separately. So our goalie coach, we always had to have an athletic therapist with us, and we'd drive to the rink, the 3 goalies, and we'd have a goalie session with our goalie coach for a half an hour. And then the team would hop on a bus and go to the rink, and they would come on and we'd have an hour and a half practice. The practice is like varied. We did flow, we did power play, we did defense, everything pretty much. And then we'd go back to the hotel, most likely another meeting, and we'd have lunch. We'd eat as a team. Those were the best moments, like eating with your team, sitting at the table. And then we'd usually get about an hour a day of rest. We take naps normally. And then we're right back at the rink again, doing the same thing. It depends. Goalies sometimes lead first. It depends what we wanted to work on. And then we'd have a full team practice again, and then dinner.
So you have a goalie coach, obviously, at Mississauga too, right?
Yep.
This is one thing I've always wondered about goalies, right? There's so many different ways to teach goaltending, and there's so many different strategies that goaltenders have. If you have a Team Canada goaltender coach telling you something different than what your other coaches are doing, or does that ever happen to you? And if that does happen, how do you deal with that as a player?
Well, I think at this level, especially, it narrows down to more the little things. So each goalie has their own style, and I think the goalie coaches at this level understand that everyone has their own style. So it's more being corrected on the little things. Like I even said, like to my parents, I heard a lot of the same things I hear all the time, just like my little habits that I have to work on personally. So I think everyone has their own unique way of teaching. It's about pulling what you get from each person. Like I've had a bunch of goalie coaches on the way, and I've pulled like little things from each goalie coach to make my own unique style. If that
it does. So how would you describe your style?
I'd like to describe myself as I'm very athletic. I can go for that desperation save, and I like to. But I think I'm also very calm in a way. Like I sit back in my net, which is kind of not very good, but that's kind of my style. Like, to be calm, but to also have that athletic component when I need it.
Absolutely. You talked about either playing the first 2 periods or playing the third period and overtime and shootout. What did you prefer?
Oh, first period for sure.
Really?
Oh yeah. Like so the first time I played the third period. That is one of the hardest things a goalie can do is to go, especially at that level, I think, is to go in on the third period, you're cold. Everyone else is warmed up. But I think even to have that experience, I've done that. I can go do that again now that I've already experienced that.
That's great. What kind of feedback do they give you? So I'm assuming, did they do exit interviews with all the players after the camp?
Not individually. We did a big team one.
Oh, okay. So they don't give you any this is what we want you to see you work on and those types of things? They don't do that?
Well, so we get an email.
Okay.
I haven't got it yet.
Yeah.
It's 2 weeks after.
Yeah.
But they do what you should improve on or
Okay.
what you need to improve on, how to improve on that,
Oh, wow.
and what you did very well.
Wow.
So they said about 2 weeks after the camp, every player gets one, and it just says all that, what you need to improve on, how these are the tools to do so,
Yeah.
and then what you did good.
That's interesting to me. That's kind of a neat little concept. So, last couple of things I want to talk to you about is obviously the big question is recruiting, right? Obviously, that's a big deal. And
Yeah.
you probably have a lot of schools after you. I'm not going to put you on the spot with anything, but what have you learned throughout the recruiting process? Is there certain things that you're looking for in a situation?
Oh yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was wanting to feel wanted.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to feel like the coach wanted me.
Yeah.
They wanted me on their team. I think for me that was the biggest thing, and I think I get a pretty good feel. Like I've been doing this for a while, so I get a pretty good feel on a person, and I think feeling comfortable talking to a coach and feeling you have to imagine yourself at a school.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I imagine myself being comfortable here, then I want to go here. That's kind of how I think of it.
Is there a timeline or is there a date that you've kind of set for yourself that you want to have a decision made?
No, and I think I've put an emphasis on myself and not having a date.
Good, yeah.
I think the first time I rushed into it and I didn't want to, and I'm that kind of person. Like if I see an opportunity, I jump at it. And I think I tried really hard this time to take my time, not have a date, because I have time. I have a whole other year.
For sure. Yeah. You got lots. I know, it's great. Do you feel like your accomplishment, what you've accomplished, correct me if I'm wrong, are you the first female from Sault Ste. Marie to get an invite to a U18 camp?
I think so. I'm not 100% on that.
I'm pretty sure you,
Yeah.
Do you kind of feel like, I don't want to say like, I'm giving you a chance to kind of toot your own horn a little bit, but do you kind of feel like you've gotten the recognition that you deserve?
We were talking about this a little bit before, but I feel like the boys get a little more. I have, like, don't get me wrong, like even being on here is great, and I think, but I like to do it myself too. Like I was talking about the SO Cup when I was in Calgary, and how everyone knows what the SO Cup is, and no one knows here. Like what I want to do is like have express that the SO Cup is a goal, that it's a thing, and like that same with Calgary, that this camp is a thing that you can go to. Like if I can do it, anyone can work towards that goal, and I just want to express that even for young athletes in the Sioux, that there's way more out there that they can achieve.
And I think it's so important that you said that, right? And that's why your parents said it too, right? It's really important to get that out and get that awareness out there.
Oh yeah.
Jim, you got anything else?
No, that's awesome. I love the questions you asked, Bono. It was great. Ari's always has great answers, so it's fun to listen to you guys. I just wish her the best of luck, and I'm anxious to hear what happens.
Yeah, so Ari, like we said to your parents, if we don't want to force anything upon you, but once you make a decision, if you'd like to announce it, we'd love to have you on the show, and you can let people know. And yeah, you know what, you and your family, what you guys are accomplishing and what you guys are doing is just amazing. And I think it's really important to get that exposure. And, like you said, right, let other people know that there is an opportunity, right? Yeah. There's a chance to do things, right? I'm going to ask you, just before we go, the last question I asked your parents. So 5 years ago, knowing everything you know now, dealing with everything you've dealt with, if you could go back and give yourself advice, 5 years ago, what would you tell yourself?
I think the biggest thing is that the little things matter. Yeah. The little things, like the simplest things, picking up tape in the hockey room, like cleaning your stall. I think I've learned that as I've gone through the Hockey Canada system, that those little things really do matter. And it makes you a better person to do the little things right.
Absolutely. Well, Ari, like we said, you got you have a whole town that's rooting for you, and congratulations. You're a great representative for the city, and we wish you nothing but best of luck this year in hockey, and we'll definitely keep everybody posted with what's happening with you. So
Thank you. I appreciate
yeah,
it.
congratulations and thanks again.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Ari.
Jim, you want to talk quickly about the tournament next week before we?
Yeah, you want to do another commercial first and then come back?
Yeah, sure. We'll do that. All right.
Bono.
Yeah, just overall, your overall thoughts on the conversations we had today?
I thought it was fantastic. I mean, you can't pick better people to talk to about what we talked to about, right? I mean, they're well spoken. They're been through it all. They're intelligent people, and they all spoke so well. I thought it was great. What do you think, Bono?
Yeah, as usual, I think it was really important to hear what the parents had to say, right?
Absolutely, I love that,
because that's a whole aspect that a lot of people don't often talk about. So, again, just classy family and classy people, and we're lucky to have them here.
Yeah, and I asked them some tough questions too, right? Like we didn't shy around.
Sorry, that was the one thing I wanted to say to her, and I never did. Was I asked Ari some tough questions, and she answered them extremely well and was very articulate, and yeah, just really impressed, right? Really impressed.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved your question when you asked her because I forgot to ask her about the different goalie coaches because that was interesting and her answer was great. How you just pick up the little things, right? And
that's right.
Yeah, I really like that question.
Yeah, thanks. All right, Jim. I know we have something pretty serious we just want to talk about for a couple minutes. So go ahead if you want to start off.
Yeah, the Matt Whedon tournament's coming up soon at the end of the month. You have the dates there. I think it's the 27th. Is that correct?
28th next weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, next weekend. Everything's all approved. The city they got the go ahead from the city. Everything's out. The schedule's ready to come out, and they got a lot going on. It's a great thing, and hope to stop by the field myself. What's your plans there, Bono?
Yeah, I'm playing in it, so I'm
you
on a team.
Eh?
I'm suckered in with the doers. So yeah, it's gonna be a good battle, but we'll have some fun. Yeah, you know what? I'm really looking forward to it. I know I know Matt. We coached Matt, and we know the Wheaton family, and anything we can do to help support that is important. And if anybody would like to make any donations, or if anybody has any prizes they'd like to donate, they can go on Facebook onto the Matt Wheaton Legacy Tournament Facebook site, and you can get in touch with anyone there, or you can just simply send a message to Sioux Sports, and we can put you in contact with Greg Caruso or with the family to kind of set something up. So really looking forward to it, and all the support that people can provide would be greatly appreciated. And yeah, it's just going to be a good time. So we better win, though. I don't want to have to hear from Dewar, complaining about how it's my fault we lost. So
who's on your team, Bono? Do you know?
Yeah, we got a great team. I'm looking forward to it. So it's myself, Dewar, Mitchell Dewar, Brock, and Jared. Karsten Moffat, I think, is on our team. And what I'm most looking forward to is Trav McLean as our quarterback. So me and Trav get to go back to our good old days of the Sioux Sabercats and maybe relive some glory years. So that'll be fun. And we have a couple other players too. Mammarella, I think, is on our team. So yeah, it'll be fun.
What's going to be your go-to route, Bono? The 5-yard out or the 5-yard button hook?
My go-to route is the fly on the outside, believe it or not. Oh yeah.
You're just gonna run flies over and over and over. I don't think you are.
I just keep tricking people into thinking I'm slow, and then I make one play and burn by them. So that's my play.
you just gotta hit one big fly, right? That's all you gotta do.
And then I'm good. All right, Jim.
Another note too, quickly, a quick update. It does look like the high school loop is gonna go. I from what I hear, it's been approved, and they're still working on some dotting the I's and crossing the T's. I don't know what exactly is going to happen. I don't know if we're starting at the same time or if they're going to be allowed to play at Superior Heights. If there's going to be fans. There's lots of stuff I don't know, but
Yeah.
it does look like we will have a league of some sort this year, and that's good news.
Yeah, that's amazing. I can't wait. We need it.
Yeah, we
Uh,
do, and
we do.
there's a lot of kids that are dying to play, and even for myself, it'll be nice to get back on the field and coach a little bit, and so that's nice.
So before we sign off, Jim, I want your 20-second take on the Bachelor results.
I'm not a big fan of him.
Oh, he's a jerk. I was
Yeah,
so mad.
I'm not a big fan of him. I didn't like the guy when he left there, and I didn't like the way it ended. But I am going to watch the Bachelor in Paradise. It starts tonight, Bono.
It does, eh? All
Yeah,
right.
8 minutes.
I haven't gotten to that one yet, but now I might have to.
Yeah, it's a little more scandalous. So.
Oh, okay. Awesome, buddy. Hey, it was nice to see you again, and nice to get back on. And can't wait to do this again next week.
Awesome. Thanks, Bono. Take care.
Take care, guys. Yep. Bye-bye.